and maybe he's got some good ideas. Of course, Herman Cain started this.
John Huntsman also has the same thing.
Well, I haven't heard about it yet.
Yes.
Because he doesn't get the media
He was the
play.
first one to come up. That's why you don't hear about it, because he's now old.
On the other hand, I think his problem is he just doesn't get the media play that everybody else gets. And certainly with Newt Gingrich, this is the part I find funny. He has so many skeletons in his closet. I'm just waiting for them to all come out. You know, if I were the president.
They all have already, I guess.
Well, I mean, certainly, if you're trying to get Newt Gingrich into the White House, that's like taking a huge step backwards in this country.
No, I really think
forward.
he's the right man for the times, because he's the only person who knows Congress inside out.
That's the problem.
And he can make sure that gridlock is removed. In his time, President Clinton and him, they got together, they got a lot of good things happening.
Did you know that Mr. Gingrich is quite a businessman? I was just
Yes.
stunned by this. Folks, if you read
Nothing wrong with that.
No, there isn't. But when we think of businessmen, we think of Romney, we think of Herman Cain, self-made men. Well, Newt Gingrich, folks, is not that far behind. Let me just read to you some of his businesses. It's amazing. Among Gingrich's money-making ventures is a healthcare think tank financed by six figures dues from corporations, a consulting business, a communications firm that handles his speeches, a pop media appearance and books.
It's a $100 million revenue company.
A historical documentary production company, a separate operation to administer royalties for the historical fiction that Gingrich writes. And apart from all of that, he has a non-profit political operation called the American Solutions for Winning the Future. I mean, how does a man ever have time to legislate?
Oh, no. When they do say that he has disconnected himself completely from all his businesses, and he's running full-time for the president. But regardless of who is in the White House, we certainly want two good things to come out. One is clean up the tax mess. It's really hurting us. And number two, in my books, is make employing people easier. It is important. Look at Italy, what they are going through. We don't want to be another Italian country, so I think we need to have some reforms.
The question is, which candidate is going to be strong enough to make those reforms happen? I mean, we can't seem to get anything passed that's of any substantial change or value here. We tried with health care, and as soon as you pass it, you have a whole bunch of people that want to repeal it. So it's like you take one step forward, and you're ready to take one step back as soon as it happens.
Did you see this week? Senator Harry Reid has come up with the idea, let's raise 3.25% tax on people who have an income of more than $1 million, and then use that money to pay for the payroll tax cut, employee and employer. Now, he feels that that's going to start the economy going. On the Republican side, they say, oh, we have already done that. It hasn't worked. Let's not go there. Of course, both of these parties, one says we're for little people, we want to raise taxes on millionaires, billionaires. They feel that this is a stronger case, and here Republicans are saying we are not allowing you to raise any taxes. Let's just cut expenses.
The problem is those dreaded Bush tax cuts, which the president, in trying to be compromising, said, okay, I'll extend them for a period of time. Unfortunately, because of that, you've basically turned off the spigot so that you have no new revenues, and yet you still have to pay for these bills. Some of them include the president's bills, like the Jobs Act that he's trying to get paid for somehow. You have to find a way to raise the revenue somewhere. And I think by those crippling Bush tax cuts still in place, the president only has limited choices, and the Democrats are forced to work around that choice the president made.
That's very true. They're like $3.4 trillion over 10 years. He's so obsessed. He looks at that money and he says, this got to come back to the Treasury. You know? But Republicans are saying, no, we are no longer going to increase taxes. We're going to first reform taxes, which is what I want.
Folks, you might find this article very counterintuitive. I know I did. If you read Time magazine this week, they talked about how the recession typically causes people to hold on to their jobs, right? Because you don't want to leave in a time when the economic circumstances are uncertain. However, this past year, there has been quite an interesting trend, and that is people basically quitting their jobs and telling their bosses to shove it. According to a recent survey by job search site Snagajob, 44% of respondents who quit in the past year did so believing they would find a better opportunity, which is up 31% from several years before. But the industries they left and the number of people leaving those industries I thought was very interesting. The most number of people leaving an industry was in the trade, transportation, and utilities, where over 474,000 people quit. Just said, enough, I've had enough. Followed closely by professional and business services, where 426,000 people left. In healthcare and social assistance, 232,000 people quit. And this is the number that struck me. You know, we think of government as being kind of a safe haven during economic tough times. 126,000 people left the government.
That they were separated.
In manufacturing, this is something I know you care a lot about, 103,000 people quit. But the ones that retained the most, or I should say where people quit the least, this was interesting. Mining and logging. Only 12,000 people left that industry.
Because there's big money in mining, you know. The salaries are huge.
Education services. We always like to think that our school teachers don't get paid enough, but only 34,000. They were the second lowest turnover industry.
That's where the jobs are.
And financial activities and construction both lost less than the other ones I mentioned previously.
Yeah.
So it's kind of lopsided, where our workers are basically saying, that's it, I've had it, enough, I'm quitting. And some of these more stable, fundamental industries seem to be holding on to their ground.
It's amazing what I read here. I was reading a report the other day, and you know what it said? That homes that are being built now, they're not being built for just one family. They're now being built for two families. You know, it's like the 18 to 34. More of them have gotten back with their parents, and they want a separate entrance. So these new building communities, what they're doing is they're building it either for your mother-in-law, separate, you know, older folks, or younger ones separate. I mean,
who would have thought that we would have gone right back to the extended family concept in this country, which just seems to be the trend. In fact, the trend around supporting the core industries and the fact that those are still somewhat stable is supported by none other than Warren Buffett, who actually made a couple of key investments this week. I don't know if you were paying attention, but his company, Berkshire Hathaway, invested nearly $24 billion in U.S. firms in the third quarter. He bought 4.4% of IBM shares.
Yes.
Which he doesn't typically do. He's not known for investing into the tech sector, but I guess with a new female head of the company, he was inspired and he bought IBM. He also bought chemical maker Lubrizol and consumer product companies like Coke and Dairy Queen. So I guess, you know, Buffett is showing the rest of the world that there is still a lot of brand loyalty, and core manufacturing, he believes, is going to come back to the U.S.
I hope it really does, because, you know, middle America is manufacturing jobs. That needs to come back. In the meantime, folks, global economics. China, super rich, buy a better life abroad. In other words, what they're doing, they are buying a residency in Canada, America, Australia, New Zealand.